I want to tell you a final story that I learned myself about how important humanity is in service. When I was in second grade, I grew up in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, which is only 2 hours from here. Las Vegas is where we went school shopping. This is our home airport. A kid moved to our town from Yonkers, New York. His name was Al Parente. He was an Italian kid from New York, and we became best friends, despite the fact that he's a huge New York Yankees fan. Best friends in grade school, best friends in middle school, best friends in high school, best friends after high school. Such good friends, in fact, that Al Parente married my wife's sister. So my best friend became my brother-in-law. And I totally recommend that. And it's a super good plan. If you can engineer that, recommend that. Go for it. This picture was taken in 1998. It was the best of times. It was like an episode of Friends. That's me. That's my daughter, who you saw a few slides ago, who's now 19. That is my best friend and brother-in-law, Al Parente, and that's my sister-in-law, Sarah. All of our buddies in our backyard. 2 years after this picture was taken, Al was diagnosed with an aggressive form of brain cancer. And he had a series of increasingly invasive brain surgeries. One of the byproducts of one of those surgeries was that he lost the power of speech. He was okay-ish, he just couldn't talk. 3 months after that, the Arizona Diamondbacks played the dreaded New York Yankees in the 2001 World Series. At this time, I was living in Phoenix. My office was in downtown Phoenix. I had season tickets to the Diamondbacks and had since they became a franchise. I got 2 tickets to Game 7 of the World Series, and I knew there's only one person in the world I'd take to that game, my brother-in-law and best friend, Al. This World Series, as some of you may remember, was delayed by the 9/11 terrorist attacks. And security for this game was incredibly high for the whole series. They brought in all kinds of extra security. FBI, CIA, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, plainclothes folks. They welded shut all the manhole covers for a mile around the stadium. It was intense. A few weeks earlier, when the playoffs had started, our other friend Pete, I shared the tickets with Pete, they were in his name. Pete managed to lose all of the playoff tickets. They sent him a big giant envelope with all the tickets, and somehow he lost them. I don't even know how that's possible, but he did. It was, however, a simpler time. Despite the security, we would just go to the box office and give them our ID, and they'd go in the back and use one of those like crappy dot matrix printers we used to use. Be like, and here you go. They'd give us a ticket that looked like a kid made it. I'm like, okay, fine. So Al and I go to Game 7. We go through we get our tickets, sit down. Our seats were behind the third base dugout. Bottom of the first inning, Al pantomimes to me that he's going for a cigarette. Okay. So he walks down the left field line, and he goes out this door that accesses an outside the stadium smoking patio. So I watch him go out there. I'm in my seat, and an inning and a half goes by. 45 minutes. I'm like, where is Al? This is the greatest cigarette in the history of tobacco. It is Game 7 of the World Series. Like, what is the story here? I should maybe just investigate. So I trot on down here, go out the door, and I see Al up against a brick wall in handcuffs. And a security guard is like barking at him. So I say, hey, what's going on here? And security guard says, are you with him? I said, yeah, that's my brother-in-law. Boom, puts me in handcuffs. Both of us are in handcuffs up against a brick wall. Turns out, when Al tried to go back into the game, he did not have the regular souvenir ticket. He had a weird dot matrix ticket that looked like a kid made it. And when questioned about this discrepancy, Al refused to answer. Very suspicious days after 9/11. This was not a regular Diamondback security guard. He was brought in special for the game. I think he was alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, as I recall. And he's like, this is not the ticket. This is not the ticket that every other single person has. This guy won't say anything. You can just stay here. And we did. We were in handcuffs for an inning, and a second inning, and a third inning, and a fourth inning. And a fifth inning, 2 hours, we stood there. Game going on just inside. And then I saw a gentleman walk around the corner, and he was wearing a Diamondbacks polo shirt. And he was going into the game, and he sees us out of the corner and he says, oh, and he comes over, he says, what's going on here? And I explained, and he said, oh, I'm Chris Johansson. I'm in charge of group sales. I was going in to check on one of our big groups in the skyboxes, make sure they're okay, but wait right here. Yeah, like I have a choice. Mission accomplished. So he goes all the way back around the stadium, finds the ticket manager, pulls him out of his office, walks him all the way back around the stadium. Ticket manager, one look at our tickets. Oh yeah, those are fine. Unhandcuff us. Not a word from the security guard. We walk into the game. Just in time to take this picture, bottom of the 9th inning, and then this happened.
Floater, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
Amazing rally at the end of the game. Pandemonium. 49,999 jubilant Diamondbacks fans. One super unhappy Yankees fan. 3 weeks later, I lost Al for good. And that experience bothered me for 14 years. I wrote complaint letters and emails and calls, and guess what I heard back? Nothing. And it bothered me for 14 years until I started writing this book. And then I realized that the story is not about what they did to me. The story is about what he did for me. Because without Chris Johansson stopping what he was doing and coming over and checking on us, we might still be in handcuffs. I certainly would not have that picture of Al, the last picture I have of Al. How many of you have a business card that says customer service on it? Raise your hand. 2 people. Chris Johansson's card didn't say that either. It said group sales. But I can tell you firsthand that he was absolutely in service. And we all need to embrace that opportunity. Service that exceeds your customers' expectations wins you new customers for free. It is the cheapest form of marketing you will ever do. Now, more than ever before in the history of the world, customer service is the new marketing, but only if you take the steps necessary to hug your haters. And I certainly hope that you'll think about that when you get back from this amazing event at Brand Manage Camp. I'm Baer. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.